Okay, well thanks for joining me again. This is going to be another episode of the bed mounting. Last episode was the bed widening and then cutting off the frame. So I've got quite a bit of work done since that episode, so I'm just going to want to do a recap on kind of where everything is. So I've kind of got these filler pieces in both the back and the front, and basically I just cut 16 gauge pieces and welded them in, just kind of boxed this all in, completely in. Super strong now. The same with the front, just filled that in. And since that time I've kind of just sort of framed up my plans for what I'm going to do with the interior of the bed, just with 1-inch square tubing, and I'll kind of go through that and sort of show you what I've done and kind of what my plans are. I've actually got the bumper mounted. I've got all my bracing in the back as well, after I ended my frame rail. So I'll kind of go through all of that and kind of show you what I've got. I got my tail lights mounted, so just really excited because we're getting pretty close to the end. Just a bunch of little things after I kind of get all the bed and everything put together. So can't wait to get this puppy on the road and start driving it. All right, so let's jump in and see where we are. Okay, so I'm going to start at the front of the bed and we'll kind of work our way back. So the front of the bed is mounted basically here. So what I did was just cut a couple pieces of 1.5-inch square tubing. I don't remember how long that was. And then a piece of 1.5-inch angle, and just made kind of a brace that just runs across. And the 1.5-inch square tubing is welded right over where there's a body mount hole for the original Crown Vic body. And so I just set it right over top of that and then just welded it all the way around. And so that comes across right across over my sort of A bracing and is welded down on both sides. And then I took some 1/2-inch by 1.5-inch tubing, and made a cross brace from the front piece of angle that I welded in the very front of the bed here, back to another piece that I welded the back of where the fender openings are cut. So right in the lip of the bed there. Come on, there we go. Focusing a little bit. So I came across there and just welded those two pieces in, and then just basically drilled and bolted it here. So that's the front bed mount. In addition, there is some support from the little steps that go down here, supporting the front of the bed here on this lip, and where it bolts to the fender, which mine's all rusted out. But I've got to get that fixed, and so that'll give the front of the bed some support as well. So then I just kind of framed, I just framed in with 1-inch tubing the wheel well openings that I cut in the bed, and then just brought some bracing across over top of this saddle portion of the frame over the rear end. So that's going to basically box in or close in the tank and everything. Because I have some 18 gauge sheet metal pieces already cut to go in the floor of the front portion of the bed here. So I've got a piece that's going to go right down in the bottom here and be welded in. So this is all going to be closed in, and then these bolts will ultimately come through that piece as well. And then I've got a piece that's going to come up here, and then another piece that's going to go over the top of this, and then come down over the back, and then again another piece that's going to weld into the bottom of the back portion here. But I ran this 1-inch tubing all the way to the front because what my plans are eventually is I'm going to put a raised bed in here, and I'll probably actually put like a weathered wood bed and that's raised in the bottom. So it's going to be completely flat, but it's going to be raised. And the interesting thing is I haven't actually done the calculations, but with widening the bed, the amount of space that I'm getting from that is probably almost going to offset what I'm losing from the tank and the rear end portion of the frame. So really my payload in the bed is going to be pretty similar to the original bed, I would think. If I've got some time, I may actually calculate that and kind of see where it comes out. Just kind of curious. So in the back here, the bracing that I used, I had a piece of leftover C-channel from my rear cab mount. So I just welded that all the way across the back here, in the very back of the frame. Then I joined those with a couple pieces of 1.5 inch angle, and then this is a 1.5 inch square tubing that's welded in the front. Again, just to give a little bit of extra protection back here in the case of ever getting rear-ended, and also I plan on maybe doing some light towing with this. So I've got it set up with the original bumper. Put a ball here. This is pretty heavy stuff. So I'm fairly confident I can do some light towing even just from the bumper mount here. So the rear bed mounts are basically utilizing the original bed mount plate from the Flareside bed, and it's just drilled through this C-channel. And I wasn't exactly sure what the angle I needed as far as the body line goes, so I had to actually just shim it a little bit. And actually I just used this actually one of these aluminum, it's from one of the body mounts from the Crown Vic. Actually it's about almost exactly 1 inch tall. It's solid aluminum. It's got a 1/2 inch hole through the center of it, so it just worked perfectly on both sides for the shims back here. Now my body lines are pretty much right where I want them. So that's going to be the bed. Just got to get some more progress done on getting these pieces of sheet metal welded in, and then the next thing I got to do also after that is going to be to get these steps mounted down here, and I'm going to I'll cover that as well as part of the bed mounting a little bit later in this episode. Alright, so that's where we are. Okay, so I'm working on getting these Flareside steps mounted. This is the driver's side one, and I had to trim it just a little bit based on kind of where this frame kind of comes over and comes into contact with this plate here. So it would fit up in there, basically like that. And this was the original bracket, which I've already cut it here, but that was mounted kind of in these two holes right here that rested right here, and then this kind of went up and was mounted to the original frame of the F100. So I just took some measurements and cut it down, and so now this is going to pretty much, because the frame is much lower, it's going to weld up right to the frame, basically about right there. So I just need to get these edges freshened up, get the paint off the frame here, tack these on, then get the other side done. Okay, got this bracket welded on the driver's side, and so basically the step's going to go like that. Got to give me some new bolts to put in the front, and then I got to fix this lower front part of the lower fender, so I've got good bolt holes to go into the back of this step here, because these are still good, but these are really rotten. So once I get that done, should be good to go. Should be good and supported. All right, on to the next side. Okay, so I've got the steps mounted. Got some new fasteners here in the front, mounting into where I welded the front support onto the frame. Got a couple bolts in the back part of the fender here, where that mounts to the fender. Still got to fix the rust here in the lower part of the fender, but I can do that at a later time. That's going to help support this step as well. I'm really happy with how this turned out. So again, this supports the front of the bed as well. It is a little bit proud to the cab here, since I widened the the bed, but I like the look. I like how it balances with the fenders as I widen the front fenders in a previous episode. So I'm going to wrap up the bed mounting with this episode. Again, I'm happy with how the widening of the Flareside bed fits to the frame. I think it's a good solution. So hopefully if you're doing this with a Flareside, you'll find it useful as well. So again, thanks for watching. Next episode's probably going to be the fuel filler door mounting into the Flareside fender, followed by probably widening the tailgate. I think that's kind of the next step as well. So again, hope you find some of these tips useful. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.